What's going on, my broskiis? My name is Toadskii, back again, here to bring you guys, well, it's actually not another One Piece Treasure Cruise video per se, but we're going to be talking about a gacha game nonetheless, which is going to be about Naruto Blazing. Now, this topic has been out for quite a while. When did this tweet go out? December 8th? Yeah, so it's been out for quite a few days. Most people already know everything about this. I've made tweets about it, I just haven't really got around to making a video about it. And a lot of people did want to see my opinions on this, and you know, for people who are, watching the channel and wondering why I'm making a video regarding Naruto Blazing, I mean, I wouldn't say I'm super invested into the game, but I'd say I still have a stake in this gacha game because I used to create content for this game. Look, this playlist is quite old. There, you can go have a look at this playlist on my channel. Last updated the 26th of October 2016. So you can see, yeah, it's been a long time since I've, played Naruto Blazing and made content on it, but I was probably the first or one of the first content creators to ever make content on Naruto Blazing. When it first came out with pre-registration on JP, I was one of the first people to pre-register. I was making content on the Japanese version of the game, and the Japanese version of the game was out for, I think, maybe half a year, maybe a bit more, and then they released the English version, or the global version of the game. And then over time, they made the global version catch up to JP, and then the global version is pretty much on the same release schedule, or like a week behind, one of the two, which is great, right? So that's obviously all well and good, but by the time the global version had released, I had already jumped ship. I was already sticking with Treasure Cruise. I wasn't going to Naruto Blazing because they introduced the limit break system at the time, and it was really difficult to limit break a character that you pulled, and the amount of materials and investment of time you had to put in to do that was just absurd. And I know that people mentioned that they fixed it relatively quickly. By that point, I'd already had enough and I ditched the game and it was over. But at that point, people still really enjoyed the game, and it was competing with some of the other best gacha games at the time. Namely, Dokkan Battle is the one that a lot of people bring up. The fact that Dokkan Battle was, well, back in the day, obviously around 2016, 2017, Dokkan Battle was not the top dog, and a lot of people were comparing this game to Dokkan Battle, which one's better. And a lot of the Dokkan Battle content creators that today were making videos on Naruto Blazing because it was honestly one of the best gachas at the time. But then they introduced PvP, and the company that manages this game, Gree, G-R-E-E, a lot of people call them Greed, of course. My man Kabuki, shout out to him because I know he always calls them Greed. Gree are not a really well-known company. Their reputation isn't too hot when it comes to gacha games. They're always, as the name would suggest, they're always quite greedy, and they really do not know how to manage their games correctly, and they started going down a more greedier path, wanting people to summon for more characters, and going through the path of, oh, we're going to introduce PvP, and then we have this Blazing Awakening, or whatever it was called, where you have a character that can awaken to a PvP form, and then a PvE form. I don't know the whole situation around it, but I know that was one of the big the big points that a lot of people bring up as to where Blazing started to reach that downward spiral. So obviously there were things that could have been done differently, and I mean, I want to draw parallels between that, like the downward spiral of Naruto Blazing, and kind of compare it to Treasure Cruise, because a lot of people are saying, now that Blazing is down, what does that mean for One Piece Treasure Cruise? Well, honestly, not really much. I don't think that the downfall of Blazing really has any impact on One Piece Treasure Cruise at all. I mean, if anything, it's a better thing for Treasure Cruise because it means there's less competition, I guess. I don't want to put that in a negative spin or anything, but I'm just saying, I don't think that this game going down has any impact on Treasure Cruise whatsoever. But a lot of people say, Naruto Blazing wasn't doing too crash hot. Treasure Cruise is not the most financially successful game out there. Does that mean that Treasure Cruise has a chance of going down? I mean, I would say, like, there's every chance that any gacha game could go down. Some things could happen. They say, you know what, we're going to chop this game and just make a new one because we can, right? Look, it totally depends on the higher ups of the companies to decide that. But the thing about it is financially, Naruto Blazing was doing way worse compared to a lot of the other gacha games out there. Let me bring up some numbers real quick. So these are some numbers that I pulled up. These numbers were taken from SensorTower.com, which I believe are the North American revenue totals for these particular games that you're seeing here from November 2020. So this is the Blazing iOS and Android, so 300,000 between the two just in North America during November of 2020, whereas One Piece Treasure Cruise iOS and Android through North America, November 2020, made 700,000. So you can see that, just with all of Blazing combined, combined, just iOS global of Treasure Cruise was able to reach that. And then you've got extra stuff coming in from Android, and obviously we've got Dokkan Battle, which we all know they do quite well pretty much in every facet. There's no real problems going on in the Dokkan camp, that's for sure. But this just goes to show that, you know, financially, Blazing was not doing as well as some of the other Bandai published gacha games out there. But there's also something else that I wanted to talk about as well, and it's a fact of content. Because if the developers are not inputting content into the game, the players have nothing to do, which means why would they summon? Why would they need to summon if there's no content to use the characters on, aside from PvP, which is obviously a constant. And that was something that I saw from Blazing players, you know, just give us something to do, and the devs never did anything. And that's one thing that I have to say on Treasure Cruise. They do a very, very good job at content. Now, say what you will about Treasure Cruise, obviously it's not a perfect game. What I'm saying is that if we look back in the past, you know, introduction of Treasure Map, no one thinks Treasure Map is a perfect game mode, but they brought something new to the table. You know, Kizuna Clash, that also isn't perfect, but it's something new to play. What else is there? Like the new mechanics, the versus mechanic, super type, dual units, all these interesting mechanics that they brought into Treasure Cruise. Imagine if none of that ever existed and they just stuck with the old formula of releasing a Colosseum and a raid boss and typical characters in their typical form with no dual units, no super types. Because that's what Blazing was kind of going down. They were going down that path of releasing the same shit over and over and over again without breeding any freshness into the game. Now, that's kind of where things get really, really bad, because that's exactly what Blazing was doing. But Treasure Cruise, despite there being some issues on release of certain game modes, and obviously things need to be improved over time, and they are listening to feedback, by the way, don't get it twisted, the One Piece Treasure Cruise team is definitely listening to community feedback, which is something that also Gree was not doing. They were not listening to their community that said, we want this, we want this, we want this. And they weren't doing anything. So obviously when you do all of that, you know, there's going to be a little bit of a problem there from your player base. And now we're in this situation here where Blazing, number one, isn't making as much money as what it really should be, and number two, the players are extremely unhappy, which breeds a lot of negativity and is the reason why we have this notice here that says, we regret to announce the closure of Ultimate Ninja Blazing. Thank you all for your support, and we hope you've enjoyed. You know, at least they've said that at this point you no longer can purchase any Ninja Pearls, which is the premium currency in the game, which is fine. And they also said as well in Naruto Blazing that when it shuts down, you can still enter the application, and on the title screen, you can't enter the game, but on the title screen, there's like an encyclopedia to view your character log. So that's at least something nice, but it's just the fact that they didn't release any content and they were just really hungry for people to spend their money on those re-release of Sasuke and Naruto over and over again, which I guess is something else that I really do like about Treasure Cruise, is they're not afraid to make Sugofest exclusives of really obscure characters that, you know, are not really that popular, like Sugofest exclusive Sugar. A lot of people weren't really that happy about it, but once they released the character with some very interesting abilities, people were really excited for that character, which is, you know, pretty cool that they do stuff like that. Whereas on Naruto Blazing, very rarely would they, you know, stray off that very streamlined path of Naruto, Sasuke, Madara, or Hashirama, the very typical characters that they know are going to make money. They don't want to obscure off of that pathway to introduce really obscure different units that potentially may be fan favorites for some people, but they always stick with the popular characters, which is not a bad thing, I guess. And another thing that people bring up as well is the fact that Naruto Blazing never ever treaded into Boruto territory at all. So, you know, all of those characters in the new anime/manga that's currently ongoing are just non-existent in Naruto Blazing. So that is also a pretty big issue that probably should have been fixed as well. It might have been a licensing issue. I'm almost certain it would have been a licensing issue, because there's just, I cannot fathom them having the ability to do it and then just not doing it. I feel like for sure it had to have been a licensing issue, and I feel, you know, for Naruto Blazing, they should have done something about it to try and get that to happen, because, like, could you imagine playing Dokkan Battle and not being able to summon for characters that come available from Dragon Ball Super, right? Like, imagine playing Dokkan Battle with no Jiren, no UI Goku, no Blue Goku, no God Goku, no Beerus. Could you imagine that? Like, it would be crazy. Like, Dokkan Battle would be in such a different position than what it is right now if you weren't able to play around with characters from Dragon Ball Super. And the same thing would be happening here. You know, it's the fact that they didn't introduce that whole new series of characters that they kind of should have had access to. As I don't know the whole details around it, but anyways, Another reason that I wanted to make this video as well, I just wanted to point out is, this was the original first subreddit of Naruto Blazing, which was called r/Ultimate Ninja Blazing. And, you know, me and Anton were like the two main moderators at the time on the subreddit, and we discussed that we'd want to move the subreddit to just Naruto Blazing for better branding and easier location finding for the players out there. But just wanted to show that, you know, I have like stakes in this game because I was the person that created this original Reddit, and I think Anton made this new Reddit. So, you know, it just goes to show that, you know, I am upset at the fact that, you know, Naruto Blazing is in the state that it's at now, because the game had so much potential. The game, in its early stages, had so much potential to be one of the best gachas out there, but unfortunately, the management of this game was extremely poor, and it's really sad to see, because this game was a lot of fun, and, you know, the fact that it had co-op as well, I didn't even mention that. Co-op was so interesting, and it meant that content creators could actually, you know, co-op with each other in a video, which was super awesome. I know that Kabuki did it a lot back in the day. I remember watching a bunch of his videos on it. It was pretty cool, but unfortunately, Naruto Blazing is now going to be closing on the 9th of February 2021, and all I gotta say is I don't expect this to happen in One Piece Treasure Cruise for a long time. So, like, if you are worrying about that, no, I don't think in any stretch that One Piece Treasure Cruise is going to be closing down anytime soon. I don't expect that to be a problem. The same with Dokkan Battle. The fact that Dokkan Battle is making so much money with honestly not much effort going in from the dev team, from what we've seen in the past, you know, few months or so, I don't think that's going to be an issue either. But anyways, I just wanted to make this video to kind of put my thoughts out there about the game, and, you know, it is sad to see, and I know, because, like, a bunch of people play this game, right, and now they've lost, you know, especially if it's their main gacha, they've lost their main gacha to play. Like, I know that a majority of people watching this video are Treasure Cruise players. Imagine just one day you log into the game and they say, oh, you know, by the way, we're closing the game down, you can't purchase any more gems, thank you for playing, and that's it. I know a lot of people that's going to be devastating. For myself personally, I would hate to see that, you know, considering how decent the game's going right now, right? But it's bound to happen one day eventually, and this just goes to show that, you know, it can happen to any game, so it is what it is. But anyways, hopefully you guys enjoyed yourselves, and hopefully you guys enjoyed the video, and if you guys did, make sure to leave a like, and if you want to stay up to date with all the content that I post, including more One Piece Treasure Cruise content in the future, make sure to hit the subscribe button down below. But other than that, guys, I'll see you guys within the next video.